Welcome to Venice and a world premiere. This is the brand new Pershing GTX70 and it is the entry-level model in the GTX range. We actually tested the 80 last year. That sea trial is already on the channel. But for me, the nice thing about the GTX range is it is a Pershing that you could maybe run yourself. It's IPS. So if you want to have a Pershing and drive it without a skipper, this could be the boat for you. But don't worry, it's still got plenty of horsepower, 2,700 to be exact, thanks to triple IPS. And in this video, I'm going to show you what it's like to drive and how it handles. But before we do that, let's give you the full tour. I'm Jack Haines, you're watching YachtBuyer. Right, we're going to start the tour down here because it's great down here. There is so much going on. I am standing on a hydraulic bathing platform, so that sinks down into the water. You carry the tender on here. You can launch your sea bob from down here as well. That's supplemented by this passerelle that shoots out under the deck there and obviously connects you to the pontoon when you're moored stern to. We've got the wings as well. These are really nice. You can see where these close up to when they're not in use. They come to about here, but drop them down, you've got 23 square meters of space down here. But the really cool trick is that with the passerelle in, you can raise this section up to the level of these wings, so it's one completely flat area. You can move around really easily. And check this out for detail. I shudder to think how much this would cost the carbon fibre deck chair. That's lovely. But it's only the start of the carbon fibre niceties we're going to find on board this boat. What else have we got? Lovely big sunbathing space here. As an option, you have this push-out shade, and that's nice. That comes out a really long way. You've got good protection in the cockpit from the overhang, but you're going to want this on a warm day, and that just comes out and makes all that stuff really easy. Lovely bit of kit. And all the teak as well. It's just a really appealing place, even here in a marina. But imagine this on anchor, stabiliser on, wings out, tender out. Be a really great place to come and live by the water. Send to the cockpit. Something I should have mentioned is there's actually really good storage underneath that sun pad. It's not a tender garage or anything, it's for sort of cleaning supplies, lines, that sort of stuff, but really conveniently located right down there in the cockpit. When you first come up, you're met actually by the flybridge staircase, which is quite good because it's linked to this big staircase and onto the passerelle, so passage up to the top is really easy. And down here you've got a big control panel with all the controls for all the bits that fold and open and slide all in one place. Again, that makes things pretty convenient. Moving into the cockpit itself, well, this is your outdoor dining space. So you want it to be in the shade, and it is. It has got this nice overhang, so it's protected when you want to eat outside. This table opens up to double in size. It's also on an electric pedestal, so it'll drop down just to adjust the height if you want to when you're dining, or it'll go all the way down to seat level, open it up. You can put sunbathing cushions in there and make another sun pad, although it is in the shade. That said, a shady day bed on a warm day might be somewhere that you want to hang out. Down here opposite, there's just a bit of storage and a fridge out here as well. The galley's right there, but you can't have too much cool storage space on a boat like this. And one nice thing about the way this design works is how this area is connected to the galley. You've got this drop down window, obviously the sliding door on the starboard side, and it means you can move between the two areas really easy. But we're going to get onto the interior in a moment. Let's stay on deck for now and head up front. One of the downsides of this design is getting onto the side decks is a bit of a process. Small steps up high onto this side deck here where you do feel pretty exposed. There's a railing here, there's a rail running along at tow level, but that's really, I think, for hanging fenders. You're going to be clinging onto the superstructure here. There's no two ways about it. If you're crewing, you're going to be clinging on pretty hard if the boat's rolling around when you're coming into the marina. That said, there is this lovely thick handhold here that helps you down, and once you're in line with these windows, it all feels a lot more safe. And what's nice is right next to the helm here, we've got the side door and then we've got the side gates. So starboard side too is the skipper. You can actually be on the pontoon really quite easily. And I think you get a really cool impression of the shape of this boat right here at the bow. You can see how narrow it is. We've got a lovely windscreen that runs all the way back, the big single wiper, and a nice living space up here as well. Quite shallow bench in front of the windscreen, but another big table that opens up to here. So you could dine up here if you wanted to. You can erect shade as well. So obviously it's very much in the sun when you haven't got the shade up, but you can get some protection if you need to. Lovely clean lines. I mean, I know the railing is very low. It's not all that practical, but it's such a good looking boat. And that comes down to the fact that it's just so sleek and pointy. And we are now here right in the point of the bow. Anchor windlass, big cleats on either side, fair leads built into the bulwarks here, an anchor locker, and this is where the crew sleep. So you lift up this cushion, and then there's a deck hatch, and you drop a long way down to find a pair of bunks and a separate bathroom. It is far from luxurious, but I'd argue that this really is a Pershing designed to be run by the owner, as I said in the introduction, so this is probably set up as requirements, maybe just really good for storage, but if you do want crew, you've got the option. Let's head to the flybridge. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a huge amount from this top deck because it's so sleek, it doesn't look like they can possibly put much up here, but there's quite a lot going on. Right aft, sunbathing space with a two-way backrest, so you can either make that a headrest for when you're lying down, or like it is now, it forms part of this dinette, which, like the bow, is a good size. This table also opens up, so you could dine up here if you like, and to do that you're going to need somewhere to cook, and that would be this central wet bar, which is set quite low for pretty obvious reasons, but it's well kitted out, hot plate, nice sink in there, and then underneath you've got an ice maker, a fridge, and some storage with a bin. And look at this. This is one of the nicest bits of engineering I've seen for a long time. If you want some shade up here, you're going to need a bimini. Look at this carbon fibre bimini they fitted to this thing. It is absolutely beautiful, and it makes perfect sense. These things are so big and heavy to move around. Carbon fibre is the perfect material for it. Very expensive, no doubt, but a really good solution. And when it's not in use, it just tucks really neatly in front of the helm. You'd barely even know it's there. Gorgeous. And have a look at that helm as well. Pershing produce helms that just scream, drive me. And we're going to do that at the end of the video, so stick with me. For now, we're heading inside. Right, let's get into the saloon. I really like the design in here. You sort of accept that it's going to be a little bit of form over function going on in here. It's what you want from a boat like this, but it's not sort of crazy in that regard. Things like having, rounded edges. Yes, it's clean and modern and cool, but you haven't got really sharp, pointy angles everywhere. Even the shape of the galley, it's a quite sort of sea-going shape, so you can wedge yourself in if you are in here when the boat's moving along. And what's nice is it's completely flat. From the moment you come up from that terrace deck down there, it's flat all the way forward up to the helm station, so it's really easy to move around, and everything's kind of hidden away. You have to work out where things like the dishwasher are. Underneath here, the fridge tucked over on this side, oof, domestic size with a freezer beneath it. Up here, glass storage, stemware, crockery, all tucked away over there. If you think about this is designed to be a fast cruising boat, you need to look after all that stuff because you're going to hear it when you're moving along. Over on this side, induction cooking. I mean, I don't imagine this is a boat where much cooking is going to be going on indoors, but you have facilities, and crucially, as I said out there, it connects really well to that dining space. So if you are making drinks and making snacks, you can pop them on there and serve them to your guests really easily. It's nice, it's really nice in here, and the detailing is great. Look at this lighting motif. This is the GTX. So up here we have this nice sort of strip effect with the X's crisscrossing throughout the ceiling, as well as the spotlights. And it's narrow, in beam, but it doesn't feel too tight in here. And they have pushed the furniture right out to the sides, hence why you've got those high side decks, so they can push out and make the most of that space. Over on this side, obviously, you've got sofas on both sides, but this one faces the TV. Ooh, nice and squishy and comfortable. The TV pops out of that unit over there. And then over on this side, you have similar arrangement. It's got a return, but you've got your internal dining table. That looks really cool, but that is going to attract finger marks like nobody's business. But as I said, I don't think you're going to be having your 3-course meal inside on this boat. And these are quite handy. They've just got these wells around here so you can chuck loose items in. There are cup holders as well, but if you want to put phones and devices somewhere safe, again, I'm on board a semi-performance boat here, so you want to make sure all that stuff is nice and safe. Lower helm, if anything, even more dramatic than the upper helm. I'm looking forward to having a sit here later on when we go out to sea. But yeah, very, very cool, very imposing. Actually a very big part of this area. They haven't tried to squirrel the helm away. They want this to be a moment when you arrive at this helm. But before we do that, we're going to go and see where you sleep. So let's head downstairs. The The central helm up there means that the staircase has to be to port, so that means that a lot of the accommodation down here is on the starboard side. It's a 3-cabin arrangement. You've got a VIP right forward, day ahead here, there's a twin, and then a full beam owner's cabin amidships. But we're going to start with the VIP. Through the doorway, which is a little bit narrow if you're a larger frame, but because this boat is really quite narrow for its length and quite pointy, we're right in the bow here, they've run the bed across the cabin rather than trying to push it into that forward end, which is a good move because you still get a good sized bed. You can walk all the way around it. They can still mount the TV up here, and there is a private bathroom for the VIP here too, which has got a nice separate shower cubicle. That's really nicely spec'd out. I mean, you can really see the decor here. If you don't like black and grey, you're probably going to want to look elsewhere. If you do, it's lovely and it's cool and quite masculine, very Pershing, to be honest, is what we've come to expect. Behind me here, this is all a run of storage behind this sort of piano black effect here, but it's all nicely hidden away. It's like up in the galley. You don't fully know where the storage is until you've had a bit of a poke around. But there is space for bedside tables on both sides. You've got electric blinds as well that you can control from bed, reading lights, that sort of thing. And then they have managed to work a little bench down here so you can sit down and pop your shoes on without having to sit on the bed. No skylight here, but there is an escape hatch if you need to get out an emergency through there. So yeah, it is tightly packaged because of the shape of the bow, but I think the decisions they've made in terms of the geometry actually work really well. Right, let's head amidships and take a look at the other cabins. Moving amidships then, opposite the staircase is the day head. That's a good size because it is also the bathroom for this twin cabin, so it's got a nice separate shower cubicle. It's not just a toilet, but convenient that it's right by the bottom of the stairs. And that connects via a door behind me here to this twin, which is a reasonable sized cabin. There's a step in the middle, but still head height is pretty good. It has got a TV up on the wall as well, and behind the door is the wardrobe, so there is some hanging space. It's not super flush for storage, but you've got all the nice bits you expect from the VIP as well. You've got your electric blinds, repeaters for lights, air conditioning, all of that stuff. Decent amount of natural light from the hull window, and an opening section too, so you can get some fresh air in here. And of course that door there straight into your bathroom. And then as we work right amidships, and last but not least, of course, we have the owner's suite. As you walk in, you first come across some storage here, if I can find the right bit. Again, like everywhere else, it's all very neatly hidden away. There are no handles on show, so it'll take a little bit of orientation as an owner to work out where all the bits and bobs are. But this is a really lovely cabin. Big bed in here, totally flat floor all the way around. You do have to work through some steps in that passageway, but once you're down here, no issues at all. And we've got not the X lighting like we have upstairs, but still these nice strip lights that are also mirrored behind the bed. I think that's quite nice, and a huge TV in here as well. And because they've used this piano black effect, it does blend in quite nicely to that bulkhead. There's more storage over on that side, and hull windows, they're not enormous, but they're big enough to let a decent amount of light come into here, and you have got your opening ports too, so even in here you can get a bit of breeze running through if you want to. Over on that side there is a reasonable sized walk-in wardrobe, and this is where we find the bathroom. Or maybe I should say the Darth-room, because I have to say the toilet and bidet do remind me of Darth Vader's helmet. It is very black and dark inside this interior, but it's beautifully done. It's cool, it's so different. You just know immediately you're inside a Pershing, and there's space in there, as I said, for both of those bits of kit. You've got a nice sink here, storage underneath, big mirror, and then behind me, look at that shower. Cool, huh? Rain shower head, really nicely done. Right, last place to check out, the engine room. The engine room is always a bit of fun on board a Pershing. Here on the GTX70 accesses through this cockpit hatch. Well, it's a pretty busy engine room because it's got to cater for not 2 but 3 engines and 3 pods. It's got a generator, there's a water maker. Underneath my foot here is where you find the Seakeeper stabiliser, designed to keep the boat steady really when it's at rest at displacement speed. Not much effect when you're at speed, but when you're at rest, absolutely worth the money, and they are a lot of money. Down here you can see you've got the fuel filters sitting proud of the deck here, so they're very easy to get to. And of course there is an intrusion from that terrace deck. That is set quite low towards the waterline, so when you're moving down into the engine room, that is encroaching on your headroom. However, when you first come down here, it's pretty good, and access is great through this ladder. You come down to the middle of the space, it's all decked out in checker plate, bit hard on the feet, but easy to look after. You can lift up all these hatches as well so you can get to the bilges. You know, it's relatively condensed because of the amount of machinery in here, but still relatively easy to work in. Right then, we have not got long with this boat at all. They've given us a very quick taste just outside of the Venice Lagoon here, so I'm going to keep this quick. We are now at, 20 knots, because actually it is quite lumpy here, especially in the shallows as we come towards the mouth of the entrance into the lagoon. So opening up today isn't going to be particularly easy, but we did see 35 knots really comfortably going downwind a moment ago, and I think that's the overriding feeling about the GTX range. It is not set your hair on fire fast. It's not up towards 40, 50 knots. That's what the X range is for. This is comfortable, easy cruising performance. 35 knots flat out, and then 25 to 30 knots cruising, where you're probably going to get a range of 300, maybe 400 nautical miles. But it is not intimidating to drive in any way, and that is what I like about this range. Certainly at this size, where maybe an owner will want to run it, you are just using IPS. Yes, you've got 3 of them, you've got 2 throttles, you can run all 3 through 1 throttle if you want to, and you can control everything through the joystick at speed as well. But it makes it very manageable. Twin that with the, Humphrey system down here, so that's controlling the blades, that's controlling my trim, that's in automatic. Really, you don't have to think about anything but setting the speed. So you can have your Pershing, but you don't need to be fretting about what it's like to handle. You don't need to think, oh, I might need a skipper to run this boat, for example. So this range really makes sense to me. But you still get all those lovely Pershing touch points. This driving position is fantastic. As the helmsman, I'm right in the middle, flanked by the navigators. I have the controls right underneath my hands. So I've got the joystick there, as I mentioned earlier, bow thruster as well. So you can genuinely sit back comfortably in these lovely chairs and control the boat really, really easily. The view is good of the helm as well. You've got twin MFDs. They're a little bit of a stretch away, but they are presenting the information really nicely. It's just a really nice place to drive the boat from. You have the lower helm. We're going to go down there in a moment. But this is, on a nice warm day like this, it's great, and you're not getting pounded by the wind, because actually that windscreen, though stubby, does a pretty good job of clearing it over your head. The handling, well, it's IPS, but it's quite sharp for an IPS boat. Often, they sort of take the edge off a little bit. They want to make sure it sort of feels safe and easy, but it still has that sporting edge. So yeah, you heave the wheel over and you do get some nice turns out of it. But again, it's all controlled. It's relatively exciting, but it's not the sort of rattling along, grimacing challenge of surface drives. You don't have that going on. You don't have the rooster tail spraying out the back, but you have comfortable 30 knot performance. It was remarkable how easily this thing was churning along at 30 knots out there when we were going downwind, and it all feels very solid. It's quite slender for its length as well, so it does cut through the waves quite nicely, and it is a really nice balance of still getting decent performance, bearing in mind this is a 70-foot boat, but just so easy to get that performance out of it without having to worry about the trim and feeding in the power and all of those concerns at slow speed as well of running a surface drive boat. Of course, because it's IPS, you get the benefits of the joystick at slow speed too, so you can twiddle the joystick and you have that really easy control when you're inside the marina environment. So yeah, that's short and sharp driving experience. They don't give us much time on these things, unfortunately, but hopefully a nice taste view of what it's like to drive the 70. Let's see what it's like from downstairs. Well, no one does the theatre of driving from the lower helm like Pershing. It's an experience like no other. I'm sat up high, I'm right in the middle. You've got the MFD box here, which is quite high. Because you're elevated, you've just got a great view over that bow, and I love how all the controls are laid out. It's quite sort of fighter pilot style, with them all down there and the switches all very clearly labelled. Now the throttles look like they're a bit of a stretch, but of course, because we're triple IPS, you can control the boat using the joystick now, like on autopilot. So I can sit back in my chair, see the screen, and I can control the direction the boat's travelling really easily. And we're just going along at a pretty easy 25 knots at the moment. We've actually got the rear doors open, but it's nice and quiet and refined. Of course, you could probably cruise at 30 knots if it wasn't quite so choppy. But it's just a really memorable experience to be sitting here, surrounded by all this carbon fibre, right in the middle of the boat, wafting along in easy at 25 knots. And it is easy, that's the thing. You're not wrestling with surface drives, you're not panicking about how you're going to get onto the plane. Because it's IPS, yes it's fast, yes it'll do 35 knots, but it still feels nice and comfortable and easy to drive at these high speeds. You might be of the opinion that the GTX range is Pershing watering down its core values. And of course it is, in a way. It is not chasing hardcore performance like something like the 8X over there is. But to me, this is a pretty sensible move by Pershing. If you want this to appeal to more than people who just want to go flat out, and especially people who want to be able to run one of these themselves, then this is perfect. Of course, there are compromises compared to other 70-footers. You haven't got as much living space, it hasn't got as much sleeping space because it's narrow and it's pointy and it's fast. But if you still want strong performance for a 70-footer, a boat that looks great but is a bit more manageable, well, that is exactly what this delivers. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. We'd really appreciate it. If you'd like to see my sea trial of this boat's big sister, the GTX70, I'll put that for you up here. If you'd like to subscribe to YachtBuyer, you can do that by clicking up here. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jack Haines. This is YachtBuyer.